Good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of City Hall Live. I am Joe Abeyta, and today our guest is the City Councilor for District 3, Roman Tiger Abeyta. How you doing, Councilor?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I know it's a busy time this year. You're having budget hearings. You started them yesterday.
Yes.
So how did that go? I mean, it seemed to be going pretty smooth, right? I mean,
It's going good, slow. They go slow, but we're only doing 4 hours a day.
Okay.
Last year we did like 8-hour marathons, so it'll take about 2 or 3 weeks to get through the entire budget, because what we do is we look at every individual city department.
Yeah.
And the budget itself, though, is balanced. What's been proposed by the mayor, it clearly outlines his initiatives. It talks about goals for the upcoming years. It talks about accomplishments. So that's actually been it's a clean budget, and that hasn't actually been difficult to deal with. That what's taking some time is it's our opportunity as a governing body to one, all be together, but two, to if there's issues or concerns or things we've noticed over the past year, we have access to the department directors and the manager there, where we can start asking some of those questions or raising some of those concerns. So that's been taking some time.
And you know, and that's happened. That's been a practice in finance, right? That here's for these hearings, we're able now we have them here. We're all together, and
so you need to take advantage of it, because we don't always get that opportunity. City council meetings where there's an agenda, and exactly. And so now we kind of have a little more leeway when it comes to that.
And it's not in city council, it's not an appropriate time to, you know, if someone's up there for another issue, you say, how come the park benches were painted blue?
Right.
You just can't. That's not the time or place. Okay, so that's a little different than last year, and let me follow me on this, because last year budget hearings were right after the elections.
Yes.
So you guys were thrown in to this budget that really had been prepared in January, February.
That's right.
As far as things were going, the process, the software, everything was done by a prior administration.
Yes.
And then you're saying, all right, here you have a couple of weeks to figure this out, not knowing really the history behind of why this was or why this was changed or whatever, right? You were approving someone else's budget, but yet you were trying to also put the mayor's initiatives and the councilor's initiatives, your stamp on it.
Well, I think the mayor said it best in his opening remarks yesterday, where it was like, he comes into office and says, here's your budget. And he's like, well, my budget? What do you know?
Yeah.
And so he's had a whole year to really learn about the city, what the priorities are, what he envisioned coming in, what we envisioned. Is it reality? Can we do what we wanted to do? And so we have a much, like I said, a much better picture of what it takes, what's real, what isn't. I think you could be a little naive as an incoming elected official. You have all these grand ideas, and I want to do this for my district, and I want to do that, and then you get in and say, well, they've tried that before, it didn't work, or it's a lot more complicated than we think.
Yeah, and it's the good thing about it is and you're not handed here's $1,000, but you have to spend it this way. Right.
Yes.
Now it's, hey, this is what we now have. We can put what we want to do with that. One thing, it was on the news this morning that the mayor was also, you know, he talked about, it was on Channel 7 this morning actually, they had mentioned the whole layout of what the mayor was asking for, and that he was asking for raises, and I thought it was really cool. And not to say that the previous mayors haven't, but I'm saying that, you know, that Mayor Weber had said, we need to take care of our people. And we need to take care of the people that are taking care of our community.
Right.
Which I thought was a really good line. You know, I thought it was
well,
great.
He's always said that.
Yeah.
He said that during the campaign. He said that when he came into office. And fortunately, we have the economy to do that right now. And like you said, it's nothing against past administrations or past mayors, but we inherited a good economy. We came into office at a good time. But I think what we're seeing with him is he recognizes that, and he's not doing something else with the money. He's doing what he said he would do with it.
Yeah.
And he understands that it's people first. That's your no matter what initiatives he has as a mayor, we have as a council, we can't do the work ourselves.
Yeah.
We've got to hand it off to staff. And one, you got to have the right staff, you've got to have the right number of staff, and you've got to, like you said, you've taken care of them. And we went through a recession. I think we saw that last year. We saw it again in yesterday's presentation. I mean, there was a 5 or 6 year period where gross receipts tax and revenues coming into the city they were down, and it took years to recover.
Yeah.
So given that, you see how the employees have lagged behind when it comes to pay and the cost of living increases and the number of employees in departments. And so, but we do have the opportunity to catch up and address that, and he's doing that.
Yeah, and I don't remember who said it, but someone said, and it might have been the mayor that said it, I don't know if it was you, but someone had said that, it was the mayor, I think, that said, we want the city to be the best place to work.
Yes.
We want to be the example of the best place to work. And I thought that was cool too.
Well, and I think the other thing is we inherited a class and comp study that previous administrations had invested in. We came in, we looked at it, we made tweaks to update it, but then he said, we've got the money now to implement it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Because if not, it won't happen.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I think the public gets frustrated with sometimes is we have these ideas, these initiatives, we talk about it, and then it just kind of goes away.
Yeah.
And then it comes back 5 years later, and then it goes away. But a lot of times it takes money to do these things. And if you've got the money to do it, you've got to do it. It's like strike while the iron's hot, because you never know.
Yeah. And so yesterday we had talked about, I know city manager's office, the mayor's office, city attorney's office, pretty much that whole, the
General
government went through yesterday, and then you talked to the unions, the police.
Yes.
You gave them all an opportunity to speak to as well. We really haven't gotten into, and there were some concerns and constituent services too as well. But let's look forward now. We have the Parks Department, we have is it Recreations Department?
Parks and Rec, we have Community Services, Land Use,
and those are
Planning and Land Use.
And those are huge, right?
And we still have Police and Fire, those Public Works.
Yes.
Those are big budgets. But when you look at the budget document and the job that the administration and finance has done, the budget's really clean. And it hasn't been easy, but they've done a lot of work between HR, finance, legal, and just getting the accounting in order.
Yeah.
I think there was as the years went by, I think they lost track of how many positions were in this department, how many were actually in that department, and this gets back to the whole ERP, the whole system upgrade that we're taking care of. Is everybody over years got fragmented and started working in separate silos, and there wasn't a real connection between finance, HR, the manager. Do we have these positions that are requested to be filled? Do we have the money for the positions? I think and so what they do is they start keeping track in their own department. This is what finance says Public Works has. This is what HR says what Public Works has. This is what Public Works says they have. And then when they started looking at that last year, they started saying, all of our documents or all of our systems in our departments are saying something different. Public Works, for example, says they've got 150 positions, and it's not 150, but HR says 140, finance says 135. Where's the disconnect? What's going on here? And so they've spent a whole year just getting everybody on the same page, because that's where you run into problems long term and money potentially, because you're funding positions that don't have you're filling them that don't have the funding to support it long term. And so they're cleaning a lot of that up, and this new ERP system will be put in place and will ensure that everybody's looking at the same thing, has access to it, and knows what they have from the department to the support like HR and finance. Gotcha.
And also, you guys will also be looking at, because I know Parks is always a big thing.
Yes.
Right? And then also services, community services, like senior services, the summer program, all those things are are looked at now, right? The funding for all
Yes.
these things and events that we put on for the community and stuff, right?
Looking at that, and not just funding, but the departments have taken a look at how they organize themselves. And I think moving into the future, we'll see much more. Once we get the finances in place, which we have, then we got to look at the organization. And I think the mayor's going to do that. Like, for example, and again, this is just
Examples.
This is just examples.
This is
Don't
not-
say,
yeah.
Councilor Abeyta said we're going to do this.
Yeah.
But it may be right, may be wrong. But one thing that some people always bring up is, why do parks clean the medians in the streets? Why don't streets do that? And I'm sure there's a reason, but that's an example.
Yeah.
Or community services, for example. Why is there a separate recreation program at the Chavez Center than there is and community services has their own rec program, and how do you determine which kids go where? Was one program better than the other because one's at parks, the other one's at community services? So those are the things we've got to
Why are they
we've got to
getting
work
juice
on.
boxes
and then we're getting chocolate
milks?
milk.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Another thing I think that is really great it's great for you guys because you get the counselors and the governing body because they get interaction with the staff, but it's staff's opportunity. It's almost like getting a project approved for a movie or something, right? So you start out saying, I want to do this project. I have a really good idea for it. And you kind of go through the admin part of it, and the admin say, all right, well, that makes some sense. Now you got to go talk to the bigwigs and get it greenlit. And this is staff's opportunity to give a pitch as to it getting greenlit, like something, like say
Right.
an example, a real life example would be the council chambers and switching over to high definition for the government channel, right? I had to
Yeah.
make that pitch, and then I had to go forward and get the budget approved to get all the stuff, to
Right.
be able to buy the stuff. And so it's kind of an opportunity for staff to give that direct feedback or pitch or an idea to the counselors too, correct?
It
And to
is.
fix things also.
It is, but I think sometimes what gets lost on us as elected officials, and I only know this because I was a staff at one point,
Yeah.
is there's a lot of work the staff is putting into this budget
Yeah.
way before we ever see it.
Yeah.
And they've got to first make a pitch to the mayor and the manager.
That's true.
And hear what the mayor and manager wants them to do.
Yeah.
So they're kind of, as staff, it's interesting because you're in the middle.
Yeah.
You're like, I've got the mayor and the governing body on this side, but then I have what the actual job entails and the staff and my staff and how we implement. And so it's a lot of work developing these budgets. It's
Yeah.
almost a year-round process. It
Yeah.
almost takes all year.
No, absolutely. And in these hearings, everybody has a favorite department, right? That they want.
Well, and that's a good point too, because by the time the poor staff and the manager and the mayor get to us,
Yeah.
it's like, you got 8 of us, and who knows what we're going to focus on? And you're right, who knows what department is our favorite, or we have a lot of questions on, or
Might be parks, it might be, whatever it might be, right?
and it probably varies from district to district.
It does.
Because you have different. Each district is so different. The districts in 1 and 2, they're older districts. They, it's like
Maybe streets
teen
on
center,
Canyon
rec
Road or
center. We have Fort Marcy.
Yeah.
We've got Salvador Perez. Salvador Perez is under construction. Or District 4, we've got the Chavez Center. Well, District 3, we don't have anything. But we got a bunch of kids and a bunch of families.
That's the Bel Delima, right? Or no?
District 3 is Tierra Contenta.
Yeah, I
But
know,
District
but I'm
4
saying
is
back in the days of the 80s.
Right. It was
when all of that-
Alabama, and the big push was we need, and that's where we should put the Chavez Center. And,
Yes.
Which was,
the time
at
was
the
great.
time, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
But now, and this isn't new either. Like, for example, we got the state legislature to give us $1 million for a teen center in Tierra Contenta. I mean, they even see
Yeah.
the need.
Yeah.
Because they've got constituents too. And I think that's sometimes we forget as counselors. It's not just us representing the people. It's state representatives, it's state senators, it's county commissioners, and they hear what are we going to do for the children on the south side? What
Yeah.
are we doing and so I think we have to recognize that as a city, that look, even the state has seen there's a need here, but the city has seen the need. I was doing research regarding the teen center, Joe. We've had a plan that we've paid for a teen center at Zona del Sol since 2010.
The city has had a plan.
The city has paid for. We've hired an architect. But you get caught up in so many other things, you forget about it. And it just kind of gets shelved, and they talk about it, it gets put on a CIP list, and meanwhile, the residents in the district are like, when's this gonna happen? So then you start bringing it forward, and it's like, why are we doing that? Where's this coming from now?
We started in 2010.
It started in 2010. It's 2020 now.
Yeah.
It's going to be 10 years, and there was a need 10 years ago. But you can see, though, how you could get caught up in some of these other things and other initiatives, or just, and it works both ways. So like maybe as a counselor from one of the other districts, something that's important to the south side or may not be as important to them, or it works both ways though. Like for example, there's real concerns about this accessory dwelling unit ordinance that is coming forward from the districts in 1 and 2. They're like, we don't have wide streets like on the south side.
No.
We don't have room for parking. We're getting inundated with these short-term rentals. And so I have to, as a counselor on the south side, remember that I got to listen to that too. I can't, just because these accessory dwelling units would work in Dalbalama.
Yeah.
That's a really good example, because they're big lots, they're wide streets, there's plenty of room. That might not work for the east side, for some of these streets on the east side, and so it works both ways, and it's a balancing act. You gotta remember. Sometimes at the end of the day, I'll just, as a counselor, if there's an initiative that's important to 1 or 2, I'll have to defer to that counselor. And if they say it's a need of theirs, or like Salvador Perez, that's important to the counselors in that district. And at the end of the day, I got to trust their judgment. They represent that area. They know that area a lot better than I do. So if they need my support to upgrade Salvador Perez, I'm gonna support that upgrade, because they know. But at the same time, I would expect the same kind of level of respect for
for things that are needed
in my district.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the poor mayor, he's got to juggle all the districts and balance
And he has
all
his
the needs.
initiatives, too.
And his initiatives have to, like I said, balance the entire city, not
right.
just a district.
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, as a counselor, there's a lot of things we deal with as a city, and there's a lot of issues that are citywide, but my priority is going to be my district. And so
that's why you ran.
Right, and that's why we have council districts, so that they feel like there is that one voice for them.
Yeah.
And so that's got to be my priority. At least that's my philosophy.
Yeah.
And so there's times that maybe the mayor is working on an initiative, and I find out about it by reading in the paper. But if it's something citywide, it's like, that's his job as the mayor, not mine as a counselor.
Yeah.
He's responsible for the entire city. If you ever want that job,
that's a good
then,
way of putting it.
and he ran for it, and he was willing to put his neck out for that. And if you ever want that job, then go for it.
Yeah.
And take it.
I got you.
Because it's I'm happy being in my district
Gotcha.
and trying to fight for the things that my district needs.
Gotcha. So you guys are going tomorrow?
We go tomorrow. We go
and then next
Thursday.
week? Oh, okay.
We're doing 3 days a week.
Okay,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday,
So
Thursday
you're
if
doing
needed.
three weeks?
If needed, yep.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
all right.
And they're in the afternoons. They're from 1 o'clock to
Yeah.
5 o'clock.
And you're welcome to come in person, or you can watch on YouTube, and also watch on the government channel. So
Are they live on the government channel or just YouTube?
they're live on both
Oh,
the
okay.
government channel and on YouTube, yes.
Okay, because I thought maybe they were just on YouTube.
Yeah, and they're on demand too, so you can go back and watch them if you want to.
Wow.
So that's good.
Okay.
So it's good. Well, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, and good luck today and in the next couple of weeks of getting the budget together.
Thanks.
Seems like it's going to go pretty smooth though, so.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you, folks. Want to thank Adrian and Christina behind the scenes, always tweaking and making sure things are working smooth for our show. Want to also thank the gallery, Santa Fe Community Gallery, Rod Lambert, for allowing us to be in here and do the show here. And folks, thank you. Have a safe week. Have a great week. Bye.